Captain Jai-Ho Kim stood on the bridge of the Orang asterisk, watching the small trading post grow larger on the main screen. The station hung in space like a metal spider, its 8 docking arms extending outward to welcome passing ships. Standard approach, Min-ho, Jai-Ho said to his navigation officer. We'll get the supplies and be gone before anyone notices us. Min-ho nodded, his long fingers dancing across the control panel. At 2 meters tall, he towered over most of the crew, a common trait of modern humans who had evolved over centuries. Captain, called Juri from the communication station. I'm picking up something strange. Jai-Ho turned. What kind of strange? A signal. Very old type. Coming from Sector 7 of the trading post. Juri's eyes, with their slight purple tint, a gift from Centaurian genetics, narrowed in confusion. It's an Earth signal. Old Earth. The bridge went quiet. Old Earth was more legend than history now. The birthplace of humans had been abandoned over 300 years ago. Scan it, Jai-Ho ordered. Ta-Jun, the ship's engineer, looked up from his station. Sir, it looks like a stasis pod. Very old design. And he paused, checking his readings again. There's someone alive inside. Jai-Ho felt a chill run down his spine. Docket Arm 3. We're going to check this out. The trading post was dirty and crowded, filled with species from a dozen worlds. Ji-Ho led a small team through the narrow corridors. Ta-Jun, Dr. Dae-sung, and Security Officer Sun-mei. They found the pod in a forgotten storage room, covered in dust and marked with faded Earth symbols. It was small compared to modern stasis units. Can you open it? Jai-Ho asked Ta-Jun. The engineer studied the ancient controls. Yes, but slowly. Whatever's inside has been there a very long time. Dr. Dae-sung ran his medical scanner over the pod. It's a human female. Young. Maybe 16 or 17 years old. He looked up in amazement. Captain, these readings. She's pure human. No genetic modifications at all. Sun-mei frowned, her hand resting on her weapon. That's impossible. All humans have been enhanced for generations. Not this one, Dae-sung insisted. She's from before the Exodus. The pod hissed as Ta-Jun carefully opened it. Cold mist poured out, and slowly they saw what was inside. A small girl with dark hair lay sleeping. She was tiny compared to them, perhaps 158 centimeters tall. Her face was peaceful, unlined by age or hardship. Her skin was pale but unblemished by the genetic markers all modern humans carried. A pure human, Jai-Ho whispered, possibly the last one in existence. Dae-sung checked her vital signs. She's healthy. The stasis worked perfectly. What's that? Sun-mei pointed to a small metal box clutched in the girl's hands. Ta-Jun scanned it. Some kind of data storage, very sophisticated for its time. Jai-Ho made a decision. We're taking her with us. Doctor, prepare the medical bay. Ta-Jun, help me move the pod. Sun-mei, make sure no one sees us. Captain, Sun-mei protested. We don't know who she is or why she was preserved. She's a human, Jai-Ho said firmly. A real human from Earth. We can't leave her here. Back on the Orang asterisk, the crew gathered to look at their discovery. The girl had been moved to the medical bay but remained in stasis. Her name is Hannah, Dae-sung reported, reading from the pod's data. She was placed in stasis in the final days of Old Earth. There's more data, but it's encrypted. Should we wake her? Juri asked, voicing what everyone was thinking. Jai-Ho stared at the small figure. She looked so fragile compared to them. So human. The original kind of human that existed before they mixed their genes with aliens and machines. Yes, he decided, but carefully. She's about to learn that everything she knew is gone. As the ship pulled away from the trading post, none of them realized that their simple supply stop had just changed the course of galactic history. The smallest human in the galaxy was about to make the biggest impact. And somewhere in the darkness of space, ancient enemies would soon learn that the last pure human had been found. Hannah's eyes opened slowly. The bright lights above made her squint. She tried to move her arms, but they felt heavy, like they were made of stone. Her mouth was dry. Her head hurt. "She's awake," a deep voice said. Hannah turned her head and saw a tall man with strange eyes. They were almost normal, but had a hint of gold around the edges. His face was kind, but different somehow. "Hello, Hannah. I am Dr. Dae-sung," he said gently. "You are safe." Hannah tried to speak, but only a croak came out. The doctor held a cup of water to her lips, and she drank eagerly. "Where am I?" she finally managed to ask. "You are on the starship **Horang**, Dae-sung said. "We found your stasis pod at a trading post." Hannah's eyes widened. How long was I asleep? The doctor glanced at Captain Ji-ho, who had just entered the medical bay. Ji-ho nodded slightly. "Hannah," Dae-sung said, "you have been in stasis for just over 300 years. The girl stared at him, her face pale. 300? That's not possible." "I'm afraid it is," Captain Ji-ho said, stepping forward. "Your stasis pod was very advanced for its time. It kept you perfectly preserved." Hannah shook her head. No, that can't be right. My parents, my friends." "I'm sorry," Dae-sung said softly. "Earth as you knew it is gone." Tears filled Hannah's eyes. She looked so small and fragile in the large medical bed designed for modern humans. The captain and doctor exchanged uncomfortable glances. "I need to see outside," Hannah said suddenly, wiping her tears away. "Please." Minutes later, with Dae-sung supporting her weak legs, Hannah stood at the viewport in the ship's observation lounge. Stars streaked by as the **Horang** traveled at faster than light speed. The crew watched her carefully, curious about this living piece of history. "We could do this in my time," Hannah said quietly, "but not like this. Not so fast or so smoothly." She turned to face them. "You're all human, but different." Ta-jun, the engineer, stepped forward. "Humans have evolved. We mixed our genes with friendly alien species over the centuries. It made us stronger, smarter, more able to live in space." Hannah studied them with new understanding. Their height, their slightly different features, the subtle colors in their eyes, all signs of the changes humanity had undergone. "Am I the only one left? Like me, I mean?" she asked. Captain Ji-ho nodded slowly. "As far as we know, yes. Pure humans, original humans, haven't existed for at least 100 years." Hannah's small shoulders slumped, but only for a moment. Then she straightened her back and lifted her chin. "Why was I preserved?" she asked. "There must have been a reason." Sun Mai, who had been watching suspiciously from the corner, spoke up. "That's what we'd like to know." "And what's in that data storage you were holding?" Hannah looked confused. "Data storage." Ta-jun brought over the small metal box they had found in her hands. "This, you were clutching it in the pod." Hannah took the box, her fingers running over its smooth surface. Something clicked in her memory. "The archive," she whispered. "I was part of the archive project." "What's that?" Ji-ho asked. "When Earth was dying, a group of scientists created the archive to preserve human knowledge. They chose teenagers with exceptional memories and abilities to be the keepers." Hannah tapped the box. "This contains terabytes of data about Earth, our science, our history, our culture. And I was trained to understand it all." The crew looked at each other in amazement. "That's why you were saved," Juri said. "You're not just a human. You're a library. And possibly very valuable to the wrong people," Sun Mai added darkly. Captain Ji-ho made a quick decision. "Hannah needs rest. Doctor, take her back to medical. The rest of you, not a word about this to anyone outside this ship." He looked at Hannah with new respect. "We'll protect you until we figure out what to do next." As Dae-sung led her away, Hannah looked back at the stars streaking by. She felt lost and afraid, but something else too. A sense of purpose. She had been saved for a reason, and she would not waste the chance she had been given. She was small, but her determination was just beginning to show. 3 days passed as Hannah slowly adjusted to life on the *Horang*. The crew gave her a small room near the medical bay. Juri helped her learn about modern technology. Dae-sung monitored her health. Even Sunmai seemed less suspicious, though she still watched Hannah carefully. Hannah spent hours reading about what had happened to humanity after Earth was abandoned. She learned about the first contact with aliens, the genetic mixing, and the spread of humans across the stars. It was fascinating, but also sad. The pure humans she had known were truly gone. On the 4th day, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. All crew to emergency stations. Captain Jaiho's voice boomed over the speakers. Ion storm approaching. Brace for impact. Hannah had barely grabbed onto her bed when the ship lurched violently. She fell to the floor as the lights flickered. The ship shook again, even harder. All personnel, we are making emergency landing on the moon of Callan 4, the captain announced. Secure all stations. Hannah crawled to her door as the ship continued to shake. In the corridor, crew members rushed past her. No one noticed the small human girl pressed against the wall. Another violent shake threw Hannah against a control panel. The ship groaned like a wounded animal as it entered the moon's atmosphere. Then came the crash. Hannah woke to smoke and flashing red lights. Her head hurt where she had hit it. She could hear people shouting in the distance. Slowly, she got to her feet and made her way toward the voices. She found Captain Jaiho and several crew members in the command center. Damage report, Jaiho was saying. Engines severely damaged, reported Minho. Life support at 60%. Communications offline, added Juri, frantically working at her station. Captain, Sunmei called urgently. We've lost contact with engineering. Taijun was in Section 5 when we hit. Jaiho's face darkened. Section 5. That area's losing atmosphere. We need to get him out. The access corridors are crushed, Sunmai said. No one can get through. Hannah stepped forward. I can. Everyone turned to look at her. What? Jaiho asked. I'm smaller than all of you, Hannah said. If the main corridors are blocked, I can use the maintenance tunnels. They were designed for repair robots, right? Taijun had shown her the ship's layout the day before. The maintenance tunnels ran throughout the vessel, but they were tiny, too small for the tall, modern humans. Jaiho shook his head. It's too dangerous. You don't know the ship well enough. You can guide me through the comm system, Hannah insisted. There's no one else small enough to fit. Jaiho looked at Sunmai, who reluctantly nodded. She's right, Captain. The tunnels are only 50 centimeters wide. Every minute we wait, more air escapes. Hannah added. I can do this. After a brief hesitation, Jaiho agreed. Get her an emergency suit and a comm unit. Minutes later, Hannah crawled through a tiny access hatch into the maintenance tunnel. It was dark and narrow, with barely enough room for her small body. Turn right at the next junction, Jaiho's voice directed in her ear. You'll need to go down 1 level. Hannah followed his instructions, squeezing through tight spaces where pipes and wires blocked her path. The further she went, the hotter it became. I can hear banging, she reported. Someone's alive in there. That's Taijun, Jaiho confirmed. He's trapped under collapsed equipment. The manual override for the emergency bulkhead is on the wall to your right when you enter. Hannah finally reached a small grate that opened into engineering. Through it, she could see Taijun pinned under a fallen beam. The air was visibly escaping through a crack in the outer hull. I see him, she said, pushing through the grate. The room was chaos. Sparks flew from damaged equipment. Warning lights flashed everywhere. Taijun looked up in surprise as tiny Hannah appeared. The override, he gasped, pointing weakly. You need to reset the system and activate the emergency seal. Hannah ran to the panel. It was high on the wall, designed for someone much taller. She jumped, grabbing its edge, and pulled herself up. Following Ta-Jun's instructions, she entered the emergency code. The bulkhead slammed down, stopping the air leak. Emergency systems hummed to life. Hannah rushed to Ta-Jun and, using a nearby tool as a lever, managed to lift the beam just enough for him to pull free. "You saved my life," he said in amazement. "How did you know what to do?" Hannah smiled tiredly. "I might be small and from the past, but I can still learn." For the first time since waking in this strange future, Hannah felt truly useful. She was the smallest person on the ship, but today that had been exactly what they needed. The Orang sat motionless on the rocky surface of Callan 4's moon. 3 days had passed since the crash. Outside, the sky was black with stars that never moved. Inside, repairs continued nonstop. Hannah had become a hero to the crew after saving Ta-Jun. Even Sunmai had stopped watching her with suspicion. Now, Hannah sat in the ship's small dining area with Captain Jaiho Juri and Dae-sung. They had finally opened her data box from the stasis pod. "This is amazing," Juri said, looking at the screen where files were displayed. "There are thousands of books here. Scientific papers, historical records, music, art. That's what the archive project was for," Hannah explained. "We were scared that human knowledge would be lost forever." "We?" Jaiho asked. Hannah looked down at her hands. "There were 20 of us, all teenagers. The scientists said our brains were perfect, developed enough to understand complex ideas, but still flexible enough to adapt to new information. You were chosen for your intelligence," Dae-sung realized. Hannah nodded. "I was good at physics and mathematics. Each of us specialized in different areas. We were supposed to wake up together on a new colony and teach people what we knew." Her voice became sad. "I guess the others never made it." "What happened to Earth?" Ta-Jun asked as he joined them. His arm was in a sling from the injuries he had received during the crash. "Climate collapse. Wars over the last resources. By the end, most big cities were underwater or too hot to live in." Hannah's eyes grew distant with memories. The rich people were already leaving for the first colonies on Mars and Europa. The archive project was a last attempt to save something of our civilization. The crew was quiet. Earth's final days were not well documented in their history. "Show them what you showed me," Ta-Jun said with a smile. Hannah accessed a file on the screen. A complex mathematical formula appeared. "This is a solution to the Keller-Voss equation," she explained. "In my time, no one had solved it yet. But I see from your ship's database that you're still using the old approximate solution." Jaiho stared at the equation. "This would improve our engine efficiency by at least 15%. 17.3%, actually," Hannah corrected. "I checked your current engine specifications." The captain looked at her with new respect. "You understood our engine design that quickly." Hannah shrugged. "Physics is physics, no matter the century. The principles are the same, even if the technology is different." "You said you were good at mathematics and physics," Juri said. "Just how good?" "I was the youngest person ever to win the Global Science Prize," Hannah said simply. "I was 14. Ta-Jun laughed at the surprised looks on the others' faces. "See, I told you she was special." "Can you help with the repairs?" Jaiho asked. "I already am," Hannah replied. "Ta-Jun has been teaching me about your systems. I've been working on recalibrating the navigation sensors." Minho, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "That explains why my readings suddenly improved this morning." Hannah smiled. For the first time since waking up, she felt needed. Later that night, Hannah couldn't sleep. She wandered to the observation deck. The Orang was dark, running on minimal power to conserve energy. She found Sunmai there, staring out at the stars. "You should be resting," the security officer said without turning around. "So should you," Hannah replied, moving to stand beside her. They were quiet for a while, both looking at the unfamiliar constellations. I still don't fully trust you, Sunmai said finally. I know. It seems too convenient. You showing up with all this knowledge right when we needed it. Hannah turned to look at the tall woman. I didn't ask to be frozen for 300 years. I didn't ask to lose everyone I ever knew. Sun's expression softened slightly. No, you didn't. She hesitated. But there's something you're not telling us. I can feel it. Hannah looked back at the stars. There's something in the archive that I haven't shown anyone yet. Something important. She took a deep breath. But I need to know I can trust this crew first. Important how? It could change everything you think you know about how humanity evolved. Hannah's voice was quiet but firm. And it might put all of us in danger. Before Sunmai could ask more, the ship's alarms began to wail. Unknown ship approaching. Minho's voice came through the ship's speakers. Captain to the bridge. Hannah and Sunmai rushed from the observation deck. As they ran through the corridors, crew members hurried to their stations. The Orang might be damaged, but it was still a military vessel, and the crew responded quickly to danger. When they reached the bridge, Captain Jaiho was already looking at the main screen. A large, dark ship was moving toward them. It had a strange shape, like a hammer with spikes. Voidwalkers, Jaiho said grimly. Hannah saw fear on every face. Who are they? She asked. Pirates. Scavengers. They take damaged ships and sell the parts. They take crews too, as slaves. Jaiho turned to his weapons officer. Arm all working weapons. Prepare to defend. We can't fight that ship, Sunmai said quietly. Not in our condition. Jaiho nodded. I know. But we won't surrender without a fight. Hannah studied the screen. The Voidwalker ship was huge, at least 5 times larger than the Orang. It moved slowly but steadily toward them. They're scanning us, Juri reported from her station. They know we're damaged. Can we send a distress signal? Hannah asked. Communications are still down, Juri replied. And even if they weren't, the nearest friendly ship is days away. Hannah looked at the tactical display showing both ships and the moon they had landed on. Something caught her attention. This moon has a strong magnetic field, she said, pointing to the data. And there are strange mineral deposits all around us. Taijun joined her, looking at the readings. Yes, it's why our sensors have been acting strangely. What if we could use that? Hannah asked, her mind racing. She turned to Taijun. Your engines are damaged, but still have power, right? Yes, but not enough to lift off. We don't need to lift off. We just need to create a magnetic pulse. Hannah's eyes were bright with excitement. If we reverse the polarity of our engine core and direct it through the external sensors, we could create a massive electromagnetic pulse. The moon's natural field would amplify it. The crew looked at her in confusion. An EMP, Hannah explained. It could disable their systems temporarily. Our systems would be affected too, Jaiho pointed out. Yes, but we're already on the ground. They're in space. Hannah smiled. And I'm guessing they don't have a small human who can crawl through maintenance tunnels to manually restart systems. Jaiho looked at Taijun. Would it work? The engineer thought for a moment. It's not something we would have considered. Our ship designs don't usually allow for reversing the engine polarity that way. He looked at Hannah with respect. But she's right. It could work. It's a perspective thing, Hannah explained. You've all been taught to think about technology in certain ways. I was taught differently. How long do we have? Jaiho asked Minho. 20 minutes before they're in weapons range. Jaiho made his decision. Do it. Taijun, work with Hannah. 15 minutes later, Hannah was back in the maintenance tunnels, crawling toward the engine section. In her ear, Taijun gave her directions. You'll need to manually connect the bypass relay, he explained. The main computer won't do it because it's designed as a safety measure. Hannah reached the engine control junction. It was hot and noisy. Through a small opening, she could see the glowing blue core of the ship's power system. "I'm here," she reported. "I see the bypass panels." "Be careful," Taijun warned. "Once you connect those circuits, you'll have about 10 seconds to get to the shielded compartment." Hannah took a deep breath. "Ready when you are." On the bridge, Captain Jai-Ho watched the Voidwalker ship growing larger on the screen. "They're charging weapons," Sun Mai reported. Jai-Ho pressed his comm link. "Hannah, now." In the engine room, Hannah connected the final circuit. Immediately, the ship began to vibrate. Warning lights flashed. The engine core changed from blue to purple, then white. Hannah scrambled through a small hatch into the shielded maintenance closet and pulled the door shut just as a wave of energy burst from the ship. On the bridge, all systems went dark. Through the viewport, they saw the pulse wave spread out across the surface of the moon, racing toward the Voidwalker ship. When it hit, the massive vessel shuddered. Its lights flickered and died. It began to drift, powerless. The crew of the Orang held their breath in the darkness. Hannah had been right. Sometimes, being small was exactly what you needed to be. Darkness filled the Orang. Only emergency lights cast dim red shadows across the bridge. The crew waited, hardly breathing, as they watched the Voidwalker ship drift helplessly. "How long will they stay disabled?" Captain Jai-Ho asked. "Not long enough," Hannah answered through the comm system. She was still in the shielded maintenance closet near the engines. "Maybe 30 minutes. We need to move fast." "Our systems are down too," Minho reminded everyone. "Yes, but we planned for that," Taijun said. "Hannah can restart our essential systems manually. The Voidwalkers won't expect an EMP from a damaged ship. They won't have protected their systems." Jai-Ho made a quick decision. "Sun Mai, prepare a boarding party. I want you to get onto that ship while it's disabled." "Sir?" Sun Mai looked surprised. "If they're hunting damaged ships, they must have spare parts. We need those parts to repair the Orang. Jai-Ho's face was hard in the red emergency light. "And I want their communication logs. I want to know what they're really after." "I'm coming too." Hannah's voice came through the comm. "Absolutely not," Jai-Ho replied. "It's too dangerous. Their ship will have computer systems. I can download data while your team looks for parts." Hannah's voice was firm. "And I'm the only one who can fit through their maintenance tunnels if we need another way in." After a brief argument, Jai-Ho reluctantly agreed. There was no time to waste. 20 minutes later, Sun Mai led a team of 4 across the moon's surface toward the Voidwalker ship. They wore space suits and carried weapons. Hannah looked tiny in her suit, which had been quickly modified to fit her small frame. "Stay behind me," Sun Mai ordered Hannah. "Do exactly as I say." They reached the Voidwalker ship and found an emergency airlock. Using tools from the Orang, they forced it open and entered. Inside, the ship was dark and strange. The corridors were tall and wide, designed for beings larger than humans. The walls were covered in strange markings. "This way," Sun Mai whispered, checking a hand scanner. "Engineering should be 2 levels down." They moved carefully through the ship. Twice they had to hide as large, shadowy figures moved past, working to restore power. The Voidwalkers were over 2 meters tall with gray skin and 4 arms. They moved slowly in the low emergency lighting. The team split up. Sun Mai took 2 crew members to search for parts. Hannah and a security officer named Du Yun headed for the main computer room. "Here," Du Yun said, pointing to a sealed door. "But it's locked." Hannah noticed a small service panel near the floor. "I can get in through here." Before Du Yun could stop her, Hannah had opened the panel and slipped inside. She crawled through a narrow tunnel until she reached the computer room. It was empty. Using her small toolkit, she bypassed the door controls and let Du Yun in. "Keep watch," she told him as she connected a device to the main computer. The alien system was strange but logical. Hana quickly broke through the basic security measures. She began downloading everything she could find. "Hurry," Du Yun urged. "Their systems are coming back online faster than we expected." Hana ignored him, her eyes fixed on the screen. Something had caught her attention. She saw images of human stasis pods, dozens of them, and lists of genetic data. "Look at this," she whispered. "They're hunting humans. Original humans, like me." Du Yun glanced at the screen. Why would they? An alarm suddenly blared through the ship. Lights began to turn on. "We need to leave now," Du Yun said, pulling Hana away from the computer. She grabbed her data device and followed him. They ran back the way they had come, meeting Sun Mei and the others at the airlock. Sun and his team carried bags full of parts. "Move," Sun Mei ordered. They escaped just as the Voidwalker ship's weapons came back online. Racing across the moon's surface, they could hear the heavy footsteps of Voidwalkers in pursuit. "Cover us," Sun Mei shouted into her comlink. The Orcs' few working weapons fired, creating dust clouds that hid their retreat. They made it back to their ship as Taijun closed the airlock behind them. "Get us out of here," Jeho ordered as soon as they were aboard. With the stolen parts and Hana's quick work, the Orang lifted off. They escaped into space as the angry Voidwalkers fired after them. Safe in hyperspace, Hana looked at the data she had stolen. Her hands were shaking. "Captain," she said quietly, "you need to see this." The crew gathered in the Orang's meeting room. Hana connected her data device to the main screen. Her face was pale but determined. "What you're about to see will be shocking," she warned. Images appeared on the screen. Stasis pods like Hana's, scientific reports, and genetic charts. The dates on the documents spanned the last 300 years. "The Voidwalkers have been hunting original humans for centuries," Hana explained. "Not just any humans, pure humans, like me." "But why?" Jeho asked. Hana pulled up more files. According to their records, they're working with several other alien species. These aliens fear original humans. Fear humans. Taijun looked confused. Why would advanced aliens fear a less developed species? "Because of how we think," Hana said. "Look at this." She showed them a report with side-by-side comparisons of brain scans. One set was labeled Original Human. The other was labeled Enhanced Human. "The report says original humans are dangerously unpredictable," Hana explained. "We make mental connections that other species don't. We see patterns they miss. We come up with solutions they would never consider. Like your idea with the electromagnetic pulse," Sun Mei realized. Hana nodded. "Exactly. To them, that kind of thinking is dangerous because it's unpredictable." The room was silent as the crew processed this information. "There's more," Hana said quietly. She hesitated, looking at the faces around her. These people had saved her life, but what she was about to tell them would change everything they believed about themselves. "The evolution of humanity wasn't natural," she finally said. "It was engineered." "What do you mean?" Daesung asked. "These documents show that several alien species worked together to change human genetics over generations." Hana pointed to complex gene sequences on the screen. "They didn't just add alien DNA to make humans stronger or better adapted to space. They also removed certain parts of the original human genome, specifically the parts associated with creativity, intuition, and lateral thinking." The crew stared at the screen in shock. "Are you saying we were diminished?" Jeho's voice was barely a whisper. "Your bodies are improved," Hana said gently. "You're stronger, healthier, and live longer. But some of the mental traits that made original humans unique were selectively bred out." "Why would they do this?" Juri asked, her voice shaking. "Control," Sun Mei said before Hana could answer. Her face showed she already understood. "If humans thought too differently, we'd be harder to predict and control." Hana nodded. The aliens feared a species that could outthink them despite having less advanced technology. So they guided human evolution to make you more manageable. And they hunted down original humans to eliminate the genetic source, Ta-Jun added, his eyes wide with understanding. Yes, Hannah confirmed. According to these records, there were several groups like my archive project. The Voidwalkers and their allies have been finding and destroying them one by one. How many are left? Jaiho asked. As far as I can tell, Hannah said sadly, I might be the last. The crew looked at each other, struggling to accept what they had learned. Their entire understanding of human history had just been changed. There's one more thing, Hannah added. She took a deep breath before continuing. In my archive, I have the original human genome map, complete and unaltered. You mean? Daesung began. Yes, Hannah said. With the right equipment, you could restore what was taken from humanity. You could bring back the full potential of the human mind. Jaiho stood up. His face showed a mix of anger and determination. The Voidwalkers will keep hunting you, he said to Hannah. And now they'll hunt us too. What do we do? Minho asked. We find proof that everyone will believe, Jaiho decided. And there's only one place we might find that. Where? Hannah asked. Earth, Jaiho said. We're going to Earth. The crew looked shocked. Earth was in a restricted zone. No ships were allowed there. It's dangerous, Sun Mai warned. Yes, Jaiho agreed. But Hannah is right. This isn't just about her anymore. It's about all of humanity. He looked at the small girl who had changed everything. Can you guide us there? Hannah nodded, her eyes bright with purpose. I was born there. I know the way home. The Krell Command Center hummed with a false sense of security. Massive screens displayed star maps, tracking systems, and countless signals from their vast network of warships. No one noticed the tiny changes happening deep within their systems. Yoonji Park sat in the modified control room of the Sangnian, her fingers moving quickly across holographic interfaces. Each touch was precise, each movement calculated. Around her, the ship's interior had transformed. Wires snaked across walls like living circuits. Panels glowed with strange, pulsing light that seemed to breathe with an unnatural rhythm. Quantum cascade initiating, she whispered to herself. The first attack was silent. No explosions, no bright lights. Just a sudden, deep stillness that spread across the Krell communication networks. Thousands of quantum entanglement points began to activate simultaneously, creating a web of destruction that the Krell had never imagined possible. On the main screens of the Krell Command Center, system after system began to fail. Red warning lights started to flash. Commanders shouted orders that became increasingly desperate. Their most secure communication channels went dark. Navigation systems collapsed. Weapon controls froze mid-command. Yunji watched carefully. She had spent weeks studying the Krell's technological infrastructure. Every weakness, every potential point of failure. The quantum weapon she had modified was unlike anything in human or alien technology. It didn't just attack, it understood. The Krell had always believed in their technological superiority. They saw humans as primitive, weak, easily conquered, but they had never met someone like Yunji. Someone who could turn their own technology against them with surgical precision. Entire battle fleets began to drift. Massive warships that had once struck fear into the hearts of 100 civilizations now moved like lost children. Their complex AI systems became confused, then completely nonsensical. Some ships started firing at each other. Others simply stopped moving, their advanced technology reduced to expensive metal coffins. In the Krell Command Center, panic began to spread. Commanders looked at each other with growing terror. Their perfectly designed defense systems were falling apart faster than they could comprehend. Everything they knew about warfare, about technology, about their own supposed superiority, was being dismantled by a single human. Yunji's fingers danced across the interfaces. To an outside observer, it might have looked like she was playing a complex musical instrument. But each movement was a strategic strike. Each touch was a weapon more powerful than any physical bomb. The quantum weapon responded to her thoughts almost before she could form them. It was no longer just a machine. It had become an extension of her will. Where traditional weapons would destroy, this weapon did something far more terrifying. It understood and then unmade. Communication networks collapsed. Defense systems turned against themselves. The very technology the Krell had used to subjugate countless worlds now became their prison. Cascade at 87%, a computerized voice announced. Yunji allowed herself a small smile. Not a smile of victory. Not a smile of joy. Just a simple acknowledgement of a task being completed exactly as planned. The Krell would remember this day, not as a defeat, but as the moment they discovered that size means nothing. That will could reshape entire galaxies. That humanity was far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. And it all started with one small person who refused to be overlooked. The silence was different after the battle. Not peaceful, not quiet, just empty. Yunji Park stood at the large window of the human resistance base. Her small frame seemed even smaller against the vast backdrop of space. Outside, pieces of destroyed Krell ships drifted like broken dreams. Each piece told a story of defeat. News traveled fast in the resistance networks. What had started as a hopeless fight had turned into the most significant victory in human history. They were calling her the Quantum Ghost, the woman who broke an entire alien civilization with nothing more than her brain and a modified weapon. Resistance leaders gathered around her. Most were battle-hardened veterans who had lost everything to the Krell. They looked at Yunji with a mix of respect and disbelief. She was not what they expected. A small woman who looked more like a research assistant than a war hero. "How did you do it?" asked Commander Park Jae-sung, a veteran with scars covering half his face. Yunji simply shrugged. "I understood them better than they understood themselves." The quantum weapon sat in a special containment chamber. Scientists and engineers studied it day and night. They realized it was more than just a weapon. It was a complete technological breakthrough that would change how humans approached warfare and scientific research. Reports came in from different star systems. The Krell were falling apart. Their communication networks were destroyed. Their military was in complete chaos. Ships that once represented terror now drifted like abandoned toys. The mighty Krell Imperium had been reduced to scattered groups trying to survive. But Yunji knew this was just the beginning. The resistance had learned something important. Technological superiority didn't matter as much as understanding, as adaptation, as pure human will. "We need to prepare," Yunji told the commanders. "The Krell won't be the last threat we face." Some of the older commanders wanted to celebrate. They wanted parades, medals, big speeches about human victory. But Yunji knew better. Wars were never truly won. They were just paused, waiting for the next challenge. Her research team, the ones who had died during the initial Krell attack, they would be remembered, not as victims, but as the foundation of this victory. Each of their names was recorded in the resistance memory banks. Their sacrifice had not been forgotten. The quantum weapon continued to fascinate scientists. It wasn't just a weapon of destruction. It was a tool of understanding, a way to connect with complex systems at a level never seen before. Yunji had essentially created a new form of technological communication. News reached other alien civilizations. Some were afraid. Some were impressed. But all of them understood one thing. Humans were not to be underestimated. Yunji returned to her small personal quarters. Nothing much had changed. A few books, some research notes, a picture of her original research team. She was still the same person who had survived that first attack. Small, quiet, determined. Outside her window, repair ships began collecting the pieces of destroyed Krell vessels. Each piece would be studied, understood, transformed. The galaxy had changed, and it all started with one small person who refused to give up. Asterisk, they called her the Quantum Ghost. The woman who rewrote the rules of war with nothing more than her mind and an impossible weapon asterisk.